hockey friends and families around the world, welcome to another edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Another great edition with a guest. We're joined today by Jay Demarco. Jay is the creator of the comic strip, Small Saves, which follows the antics of a little youth goalie of the same name. The cartoon, which debuted in 1991, regularly appears in USA Hockey Magazine, the Independent Sporting News, Inside Hockey, and of course, smallsaves.com. In addition to the above, Small Saves collections are also available for purchase on Amazon.com if you're looking for a gift for the goalie in your life. Jay started playing hockey as a goalie at the age of 5 and still plays to this day. His hockey journey included stops in Watertown, Massachusetts for prep hockey and 3 years of semi-professional play in the South Florida Hockey League. In addition to Small Saves, Jay is also working in a nursing home, does silk screening, and is known to help at his local rink, of course, sharpening skates. Jay is a passionate fan of goaltending. I don't want that to be missed, and of hockey, of course. And we are pleased to have him here today. Jay, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. So, Jay, the obvious first question is tell us the story of how Small Saves was born and the journey and then the passion project of it. How did that all come to life?
Well, I've been a goalie since age 5. So I just have a passion for goaltending in general. And I wanted to be a syndicated cartoonist, and I developed a comic strip called Sports Kids. The only problem with it is that hockey is the only sport I know. So I was trying to write about football and baseball, and I've seen them on TV, but I never played it or followed it. So the comic strip really didn't go too far. But out of it came Small Saves, and I noticed I kept leaning towards drawing him. So in 1991, I just started sketching them and putting them together, and and then here we are.
Right. Well, you've been doing it a long time. Look, you're clearly passionate about it.
I love
Again,
it.
you've spoken to I think everybody on this panel at least once about it, and you really love what you do. So you said it started in 1991, right? You even sent us some examples, which our producer Caitlin will make sure that go up on the screen here while we're talking. They're probably happening right now.
Thank you.
And let me ask you this: what have been some of your favorite Small Saves you've created, and why? And you have a huge library to go on here.
Yeah, there's quite a bit. I be honest, I love them all. They all
good answer.
Something special to me.
Right.
Yeah, I just I think the ones when he's in the net pulling antics and shenanigans, I think those are the ones that I kind of get an extra kick out of.
Right. So when he's just being a goalie, like any other goalie that existed in the history of goaltending.
Yeah.
Jay, this character that you created, he's quirky, right? So, and a lot of what we think of as oddities of goalies kind of comes out in this character, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I never noticed it too much because as a goalie, that's kind of like how I see life. But when people read it, they're like, "Oh, geez, that's he's a little
different."
Yeah.
One of the ones you sent us that I loved was the one of Small Saves mentally preparing and seeing himself as these different things, a dragon, and it's funny because I could relate to that as being a forward most of my life. It's funny when I was seeing that one again, because, I know you grew up as a Peanuts fan,
Yes.
Obviously loving all of those newspaper comic strips. And, in recent years, that's something that has changed a bit. I'll say that. I mean, they still exist, but people don't read newspapers as regularly. But I loved the feeling of feeling like I was in the comic strips again. That was something when I was a kid. We used to pull the comic strips out and read them. That was a fun part of the day. And I just love that you have continued to keep that alive. And one of the things, for those of you who don't know, like Jay refuses to allow newspapers not being mainstream to stop him from doing this. And I love that about you, man, because you really do love what you're doing.
Yeah, I do.
So I got to ask this too, in an article I was reading about you, I saw that one fan of yours got a tattoo of Small Saves on his back.
Yeah, it's actually becoming quite the norm now. At least once a month, someone says, "May I put him on my arm?" Or I need a tattoo for my leg, and I want to put him on it. And the goalies will say, "I want him on my mask." And so I say, well, I must be doing something right. If people to tattoo it, that's pretty personal. That's forever on you. So
it's a little forever. That's going to the grave with them. I mean, That's a pretty big testament. Again, for those who haven't read Small Saves, I mean, that's what people think of this comic strip.
Thank you.
Do you have any other great stories from fans outside of tattoo, or like you said, the goalie helmets, where someone's maybe contacted you and said like, well, this is why I'm doing it? Anything fun with that?
I do get some letters. No, they just basically say I really love the cartoon, and I do hear from some parents saying, my child, doesn't like to read or anything, but he falls asleep with your book every night, and he won't let it go. I've had parents tell me that their kids are now wearing their goalie mask to the breakfast table. And
you must draw inspiration for that.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah. Rumor also has it that in one of the comic strips, a reporter appears that looks like one of my co-hosts here.
Yes.
and I'll give you a clue. It's not Mike.
Come on.
Yeah, we collaborated on that one. I do a lot of school visits because I have children's books too. And Jay and I were talking about our kids' books. And I mentioned to Jay, I'm going to bring Small Saves in with me on one of my classroom visits. And he was thrilled about that. And then he got inspired. He goes, what if I did a cartoon based on Sophia and Eddie the Puckhog? And I was so thrilled. And he gave me a huge drawing of it. Large enough where I didn't even have to, go around the classroom to show everybody. It was big enough where you could just see. It was like life size. He came up with this great drawing, and the punchline was great with Eddie. So yeah. Why don't you tell everybody? Because I want to know how you got inspired to share that story.
Well, actually, you've appeared in a couple of cartoons. There's one I sent yesterday. You'll get to see it probably in a moment, but the one with Eddie was just from looking at the notes you gave me and the values that you were trying to instill into your readers, and I said, wow, that's a great idea. So it just kind of came naturally, and I just wrote it down, and there it is. And I love that you you read it to the class and you filmed it, so thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. But yeah, and that's the thing about Small Saves is Small Saves teaches kids some really good life lessons outside of the hockey rink, which I love.
Oh, thank you so much.
Going on that article I read, one of the other cool things. So now, Jay, you're joined by other writers on here.
Oh, awesome.
And Mike, I'm not leaving you out. Don't worry. Yeah, we'll include you in this episode somehow in a moment. But no, look, Christy and I are both writers, and one of the things I really related with, and actually, Mike, you'll relate to this too, just being a coach, right? Because this happens when you're trying to draw plays and stuff sometimes. But I love that you wrote about how you'll sit down, you'll get ready to make a strip, and okay, I'm gonna make one, and then an hour later, nothing's happened.
Nothing.
And any writer has experienced that, where like today's the day I write 6 chapters, and 4 days later you have
I actually joined a Facebook group for writer's block.
Really?
Yeah, I joined it just to vent.
Just to prompt you.
A little bit.
Writer's block is horrible. Again, for those of you listening, one of the things I love about our show is obviously we talk about the game. So parents, by the way, and coaches that are listening to this, and we're going to, Jay, I'm going to ask you about this in a minute too. There are so many ways you can experience this game outside playing it. It all comes back to playing it, but that's why I love doing these episodes, because it shows and showcases other people and what they do in the game. But one of the things I loved about this little article I was reading, because totally related to it, was obviously the writer's block. And most writers know that, if you're probably writing less time than when you're not, meaning that like you probably have more block than you do when you can actually create something. But what you said that I totally related to was you'll sit there and then nothing will happen. Then you'll go play and just the ideas will start coming, right?
Flying left and right. Yeah.
Right. And a lot of that's like, you experiencing things by doing it. But I wanted to ask you, the most frustrating part for me with that is that happens to me, and I'm like, I can't jump off the ice and go write this down right now.
Exactly.
You gotta kind of store it in your memory banks. And I have before, though. I wanted to see if you do this, Christy. This will make you laugh. I have, after a game or a practice, like run to the snack bar, got a napkin, and start writing stuff down. And Mike, this will make you laugh. People are like, you writing up some plays? I'm like, yeah, they're plays, all right. I'm just writing narratives for character I just thought of.
Yeah.
But yeah, James, walk us through that process of just, how the ideas come. And I'm sure sometimes they come faster than others.
Oh, they come out of the blue. So for everyone that say they want to get into cartooning or just writing, always keep a notebook with you, even if
Right.
it's those tiny little pocket notebooks and a couple of pens, and have them with you at all times.
A lot of these, I have a lot of these around.
Yeah, I put them. I have it next to my bed at night. I might wake up and I have an idea. I write it down. Can't develop it because it's just raw, but I'll write that down. Or I'll be driving in the car and I say, "Oh my God, I got an idea!" And I just pull over into a parking lot and I write it down. And um, so even when I'm at work, sometimes they'll say, "Oh my God, I got a great idea," and I kind of sneak off to the side and write it. And a friend of mine, his name is Mark Parisi. He draws off the mark. He said the funniest thing to me. He says, "Well, it's a good thing you're not a surgeon."
This guy's heart's beating. Oh wait, I have an idea.
I'd be running off. Yeah, I'd be running off. Excuse me, guys. I'll be right back and writing a cartoon.
No, that works out.
I have a question about goalies, Jay. I think they're really misunderstood, right?
I think
So
a little bit,
kind
yeah.
of break some of the myths about goalies that people don't get you a lot of times. And Small Saves tries to help
Yeah.
boost the knowledge about hockey and kind of the myths
Yeah.
and the mystery around goalies.
Yeah.
So share some things about goalies that you think people misunderstand about you.
I think they always say, well, the goalie is a little bit wacky, a little bit crazy, a little bit different than the rest. And we kind of have to be, because when we're on the ice, it's we're not playing against 5 guys, we're actually playing against 10, because your own guy can tip it in the net or whatnot. So you kind of stay a little guarded, and that area is yours, and you're just you're kind of like in your own world a little bit, like you're watching the game, and you're part of the play, but you're also like, okay, my defenseman can go to swat at it and he's going to redirect it over my shoulder or whatnot. So we tend to, um, be to ourselves. And I had a friend of mine who said to me once, she plays too. She's a great defenseman. And she says, goalies are crazy or whatnot. And I said, well, I'll have you know, I'm the most sanest person you'll ever meet. And she said, well, the goalies who think they're sane are probably the craziest of them all. I think that kind of sums it right up.
Yeah. You're making me think of a funny story.
Yeah.
So I never was able to figure this out. For some reason, every team I've ever been on, I'm always friends with the goalies. And I remember a few years into my playing years, I'm like, wait, what's this say about me? I'm always, because the goalies are a little off. I think I was a little bit off too.
Yeah.
And then I remember at one point, I remember thinking like, maybe I should have been a goalie, because I was always friends with the goalies, right?
Yeah.
And again, this is a lot of different goalies. It's not like the same goalie every year I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
But I think I got a glimpse into that, because that game is a different speed for you. And then obviously the responsibility is different. And I forgot who famously said it, but anybody who's trying to take a 90-mile-per-hour slap shot at the head, it's okay with that. Something's off.
Yeah. The Gumper says, I think the Gump Worsley he was a great goalie for Montreal, New York, and Minnesota. He had said, you don't have to be crazy to be a goalie, but it helps.
Yeah, that's right.
That was his famous quote.
And then I forgot what other goalie had said that quote, that how would you feel that if every time you made a mistake, a red light showed up and 20,000 people started cheering or yelling at you?
Yeah.
That was a good one as well.
I actually have a
I was going to say, we got to bring Mike in this conversation. He's being way too
Do we
quiet
have to? I mean, he looks like he's having a good time just watching this.
No, I love it. Listen, I come from a family of illustrators. My father's a professional illustrator. Obviously, my brother is a professional illustrator. So I think
I didn't know that, Mike.
You've
been quiet this whole time, and that's what's going on in your family.
So I can really, the writer's block part is funny, because I think when you're an artist like you, Jay, and it looks easy, right? Like from a layperson, like, hey, Jay, could you just draw me up a quick caricature of this? And I do that to my father all the time, who's done work for the NHL and done work for the Islanders and the Rangers, and so when I'm asking him like, hey, can you just draw a real quick picture of the kids for me and draw a little like funny caricature? He's like, well, I can't just draw it like that. It needs to come to me. Like sometimes and then when he does sit down, he'll draw it. You're like, well, how'd you do that so quick? It's like, it looks like a work of art. But and to your stuff, and but so the writer's block, certainly I can imagine how much goes into, trying to find that inspiration. But what I love is I'm a big, quote person with my older guys, and
Right.
bless you. So I'm a big quote guy with my older guy, and I'm always like sending him text messages or writing little notes. And what I love about your column is for my youngest,
Oh, thank you.
they're like their little abilities to send a message in a fun way. Like I think you had the one I post a lot. I gave it to him about the mom asking him to clean his room or something like that, right? And then he goes in there and the thing, it's just his goalie equipment hung up, and the rest of the room's still a disaster.
Yeah.
Like, look, I'm done. I'm ready to go. I'm like, well, that's not what I meant by cleaning your room.
Yeah.
But I think it's like that kind of stuff where you can send these messages to the kids, similar to Christie's books, and it's just that you can send these like underscored messages to the kids without really driving it home in a really fun way. And I think that's so I think it's universal. It's not just for goaltenders. I think it's just for any child, right, that loves to be goofy. And I think the last one I saw too was the one when they said the goalies are kind of understated and never really vocal. And then he's like, unless I get a shutout, like, oh, by the way, isn't anything to tell me, about my shutout, so it is great. I love it. And, I think I would definitely recommend, people just using it just for every day for their kids, just to kind of get a little chuckle.
Thank you.
Jay, I got to let you know, Mike's been holding out on us. He was quiet the whole time we produced in this episode. He didn't contribute at all. He comes out today. Oh yeah, no, my whole family's illustrators. And,
I had no idea. I never knew that.
Now we can't play this because I think my father will. He'll be like, "What are you talking about? You don't tell anybody about me."
I'm going to directly send this to your father and your family.
There's probably not a player except for me that has played with me in my career that doesn't have a caricature or a line drawing from him as a gift. And I think that was like at the end of the year, it was like his drawings were more important to the guys than any trophy, any award.
Yeah.
It was like that because I still got guys at 50 years old right now. They're the one thing they still have hanging in their house is his caricature, and I'm sure that's the same way I don't think he has anybody with a tattoo of him yet, but I think that's pretty wild that Christie, I'm sure, has that painting or that that work of art that she'll have forever. And I think it's such a unique skill and the ability to find. And the one thing too I could say is, like, when I see my father's artwork, no matter where it's stolen from and people using it and not with permission, I know it's his. And that's so funny about yours. Like, you see your artwork on a t-shirt that's not yours, like you didn't do it, but somebody stole that. Because it's yours. It's very distinct. Yeah. And it's funny how people can say, oh, somebody could just copy that. I go, no, you can't. It's not that easy. It's not as easy just to say, I'm going to draw like Jay. It's your unique drawing that's so powerful, I think.
Well, thank you.
What makes it so special.
That also brings us to our weekly public service announcement, which is please don't steal other people's intellectual property. Ask for it, borrow it, or pay for it because it's their livelihood.
Right. Oh, he just draws it. He's an artist. It's like, it's like a hockey coach. Like, people don't value, like, oh, hey, can you just give me 7 hours of instruction?
Yeah.
But you love doing this, right? So can you just do it for free?
Just do it for free.
What I do for a living, So you wouldn't ask your mechanic to fix your car for nothing and then say, hey, I knew you're a mechanic. So
you could try, Mike. It's not gonna be.
Yeah. No, I do try. I do try.
Yeah.
But it's like. I think that's a great point. I mean, James's stuff, I see it all over the place. I mean, I see people they'll use it on their letterhead for, in different rinks or clinics or all kinds of stuff. And, you should ask. And I'm sure Jay's, I'm sure you're not one to ask for a lot of copyright rules. Just ask.
A lot of people have asked me, say, oh, can we use this for a banner? And I always say yes, especially when it's for the children.
Yeah. Right.
I say just include my website somewhere.
Right. The key is they ask.
Just a little so they can see where they can find more of the cartoons. The kids can go and discover them.
Right. No, yeah. Listen, I don't think there's anything wrong with asking, right? Like, and to be fair, most of the time when I get asked it, I usually say yes. It's just, but asking is the bare minimum, right? So Jay, I want to ask this question too, because I'm sure we have a lot of listeners out there that would be interested in this, because I'm always amazed at how people's passion for the game can manifest itself in creative ways other than just playing, right? As I alluded to earlier in the episode, there's a lot of ways to be involved in hockey without being on the ice. So my question for you is, what advice would you give to someone that loves the game and wants to pursue a project or even a career, kind of like you have, in the game in a creative way?
Well, there's so many aspects of hockey, and obviously we play it because we love it. But even when we're at home, hockey transcends, to our daily lives. Some people may want to get into like retail, like maybe they want to sell hockey equipment, which I've done too. And I've learned to, shop and skates, which I love to do. I had a following. People would come and I get them done for them. But there's so many avenues. They may be very creative and they may want to develop a piece of equipment, make it better than it is now, and they can do something like that. If something calls to you from hockey, follow it, because you just may be inventing the next great piece of equipment or a great new jersey, or you may get into scouting, coaching. There's so many avenues. A lot.
I love that. I love that you said follow it. I remember probably in my mid 20s is when I really started to realize I'm not going to be an NHL superstar. I believed that up until that point. But I remember the day that I started realizing two things.
Yeah.
One is that I could apply the work ethic I had been putting into this game to everything, right? That was not limited just to the game. That was actually a shock to me. Because I remember thinking like, well, I do this for hockey. This is hockey. It wasn't hockey. It was me, right? I'm capable of putting that level of work into anything as long as I'm motivated. That's what I should say, right? We all get lazy at times. And then two, along with that thought was the firework explosion of all the things you can do to stay involved in the game. I could do broadcasting. I could do product development. I could do coaching. I could do everything you just said.
Yeah.
And what I didn't realize till I got older is that, and this is through a lot of great mentors, my parents, I wasn't afraid to try and just go for it. And I think so many people get to that point and they go, well, what's the point? I'm not going to ever be able to do anything with this. And they stop. They stop before they even move forward. You've been doing this comic strip since 1991.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You believe in it. And my advice to people listening, or parents, if it's your kids, is cultivate that belief. If they love the game that much, and I don't meet many hockey fans that don't love the game that much. Very, very, very rare. I'll meet someone that's like, yeah, it's okay. If they want to pursue a world in that, even if your kids are getting towards college age, think, well, how can you study something that's going to allow you to be part of the game? That saved me a lot of times going through tough times, knowing that, I am focused on being involved in this game somehow. And that's my goal, right? I wasn't just like a nomad in the wilderness. Hockey was the goal, and it opened up so many doors outside of hockey for me.
Sure.
But again, I'm not trying to monologue here. Again, Christy and Mike, I don't know if you want to add on to that too. I mean, that's what I really want people to take that away from this episode, Jay, because you embody it. You embody it. 1991. I won't count how many years that is, but it's a while. All right.
Yeah.
All right. It's 30 for those of you counting. All right. But my point is that's dedication. That's longer than a hockey career. You know what I mean? So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Funny thing is, when I was playing down in Florida, I knew I had a story to tell, in goaltending, and I didn't know exactly what direction it was going to go in. I thought maybe I'd write a book, which I am, by the way, writing a novel, a goalie novel,
That's
but
awesome.
that's going to take a couple of years to finish. But
yes.
I knew there was a story there somewhere, and I didn't know at the time, but it was my little small saves, and that was in 1983, I think it was, when but he wasn't invented yet or anything. I just knew that there was something there,
right?
And I just had to follow it, and I think that's eventually how I led up to him.
And I want to guess that passion to follow that was the same or similar passion to following the game.
Oh,
like playing the game. Like it feels very similar. I would say that.
Yeah, it's you play, and then you're creating something for it. And,
right.
It's a lot of fun.
Christy, did you have something? Sorry, I felt like I cut you off there a minute ago.
No, I was kind of curious about Small Saves, the character itself. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you get a lot of questions from your fans about Small Saves. What are some of your favorite questions that you got about the little character? And what are some of the things that you think people would like to know about him outside of what they read in the weekly strips?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I think one of the biggest questions is why does he always wear his goalie mask? He always tilts it to the side of his head and he never takes it off. And because he wants everyone in the world to know that he's a goalie. So that mask always stays on his head. He'll tip it up and wear it sideways, but it never leaves him. It's part of who he is. Someone said, well, it kind of reminds a little bit of a young Phantom of the Opera because he's kind of half covered. But I think the children ask me, well, what color hair does he have? What kind of hairstyle does he have? How does he
And
look?
what color hair does he have? I want to know.
I don't know. I never saw him without the mask.
It's really going to shock people when he's got the Vanilla Ice 1991 haircut.
Oh gosh, yeah.
That hasn't changed in 30 years.
Hopefully he's better than I am.
I'm in the same boat as you, man. That's why I wear a hat on this show. Okay. Mike's doing it right. For those who live, Mike's got a beautiful head of lettuce. So I just have not. I can show you. I'm with you. It's all shiny up there. The lights don't help. No, those are great answers. And then even the interactions with the people that Small Saves meets, right? Are his teammates? Because defenseman's one of the characters, right? There's some other named characters.
Yes.
Are those based off of people or experiences that you've had?
Half of them are real people. They're like the defenseman who always wears her sunglasses.
Right.
That's my dear friend Jane. She's a defenseman from New Hampshire, and she always had a wisecrack for me. I remember the first time we played together, and I came out of the net to clear the puck, and she was going for it, and she's like, "Don't touch the puck when I'm coming around the net," And she always had like a little wisecrack for me. So I developed it into a character, and and then the other one, I kind of based off a couple of people. The one with the kid, occasionally he's complaining and he's very, very dramatic. And he throws himself on the ice and everything's like Shakespeare. He's like,
we all know that player, by the
way. And some of them I just make up just for the cartoon, for that particular use. But I find some of them are repeating, and then a lot of my friends, like I said, have appeared in the cartoon, like a guest appearance, just like, was that me this week in the cartoon? I said, yeah, that was you.
Depends. What did I say about you? Right.
Yeah.
Did you like it? That's what you said. If you liked it, it's you.
Yeah.
Another question I wanted to ask, and Christy actually sent me this. You have a great quote, and you said that anyone who plays the game is a kid at heart. We play because we love the game and we remember it from when we were young, and we still enjoy it just as much. And that is so true, just 100%. And every time I step on the ice to this day, I feel like a kid. It just seems to make everything better. I know if I'm having a tough day or I'm starting to rage, if I get on the ice, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a loaded question, but I think you're the right person to answer it. Okay. What do you love most about hockey?
Being between the pipes and stopping pucks, or doing my best to stop pucks. To me, it's that crease is home. That's sometimes the world can be a little hard to figure out, but when you're in that net, everything makes sense.
I love that answer. Mike, I don't know about you, but I'm getting Forrest Gump things like, that is the greatest answer I have ever heard from a goalie. You are going to be a goalie someday, Private Gump. No, I remember one time I tried to explain it to somebody too, and Mike and Christy, feel free to chime in here, but I said to somebody, because chaos makes sense on the ice. And they didn't play and they didn't get what I was saying, but they said it's chaos. I said, but it's the place where chaos makes sense. And I said, if you don't know, you're not going to know. I said, because it is chaos out there, but it's beautiful. Right, Mike? I want to turn to you, Mike, because Mike coaches the chaos. Mike organizes the chaos.
I try to avoid it as much as possible, but I think Jay, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, anybody that loves the sport or any sport, but particularly I think hockey is one of those things where, we're such a small community, and then you have the goaltenders, which is a smaller community. Yeah. I think that ability to understand, and I probably don't fall into the, I think all goalies are crazy analogy and they're nuts, and I think, but I think they also have to be your most level people. Like they you see a whole, I'm sure even in an adult league, right, that your composure and your ability in the pipes can dictate what the rest of your teammates do. And I try to bring that, I try to bring that philosophy to all the players that, watch your goaltenders, watch the great goaltenders. You're going to have the guys that slam their sticks and break them over the net, and, they're going to lose their minds every now and then.
Oh, yeah.
But, if you reacted like that for every single time you got scored against,
Right.
I mean, it'd be a pretty expensive sport. So, but I think it's just, that levelness and the ability to, let a goal go and then reset and be back in your crease again. These are just great lessons for any kid that you're going to get scored against.
Oh, sure. All the time.
And you're probably, when your team wins 9-8, you're not going to get much credit, right? But you're still going to, but somebody has to stop the 9th goal. So I think it's just, and if you win 2-1, you're like, well, we won. I played great, but they're like, well, yeah, but the other guy scored the second.
He scored
goal.
the game-winning goal. Yeah.
So what about all those saves I made? So I think it's such a unique area for parents. Me, like, I'm anti-goalie. Like, I just plead and beg my kids not to get in the net. And I tell coaches, don't let them go in the net. It's too stressful. It's too hard. I can't handle it. Right? They can handle it. But, so I think it's great that you're able to, go in there, kind of love what you do. But also, you have now another vehicle to express that love of the game and sending messages to kids. So it's cool.
So, Jet, we should ask you, Mike, you just actually spawned this question. What would be your advice to parents whose kids are starting to think about potentially playing goal?
And also for kids, because I got to tell you, over the years, both Joey and Sophia's teams, the goalies got so emotional. Like they were carrying the weight of the entire game on their shoulders. And I think at times it was just, they didn't have the right perspective. And they didn't see the fact that it takes a team to lose. It's not just the goalie. So advice for kids too, who feel like it's all my fault that we lost. And they put so much pressure on themselves when they're goalies.
Yeah, it's a team sport, and they have to get past 5 players first to get to you. So, and if they beat you, well, that player that, he went around everybody else and he got by you, he's a good player. And just don't take it to heart, because there's so many games to be played in the future. And when you're older, and when you look back, you're not going to remember the wins, the losses. You're going to remember the feeling of being out there. And if that feeling stays with you, you'll still be out there playing. There's a million games being played out there. You're always going to win, and then you're always going to lose. And that's why they call it a game.
It's a great answer, man. Like, there's a lot of insight in that. So I'm going to go to a couple kind of quick rapid fire ones here, because every goalie I've ever met has a favorite goalie, and they know who that person is, and they can tell me. So who's yours?
Tony Esposito.
So just so the audience, never have I had a goalie be like, well, let me think about that for a minute. There's this guy. No, it's always boom, it's this guy. Tony Esposito, man, that's a great pick.
But the funny thing is, as soon as I say Tony Esposito, I think of Bill Dern and Ken Dryden, Jerry Cheevers, Rogie Vachon, and they all just, it's like a cascade. I mean, I could go on all, because they were all my favorites. But Tony Esposito, it's a funny story. I was 5, my parents said, and we were watching the hockey game. They said I got off the couch, and Tony Esposito was playing against Boston. I went up to the TV screen, I pointed to him, and I said, "That's me." And
that's really cool.
They said they just were puzzled. And the next day, I remember I got the couch cushions. I took them out of the couch, cut them in half, got my father's dress belts, strapped them on me, and I went outside. I was ringing people's doorbells saying, "I'm a goalie. If you need a goalie, I'm available. Just go to my house and get me." I got in a lot of trouble for that, but he was the first one. He was my favorite, and he inspired me instantly.
First off, love that you cut the couch cushions in half.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story that absolutely paid off long term.
And kids, do not do that at home.
Yeah.
All right.
I got
if you need, you can go to Christy's house if you want to cut the couch cushions in half. That's amazing. Too, you know, there is something unique about that era of goaltending, that 60s, 70s era, that really has never come back. I mean, this has nothing to do with today's goaltending, which is amazing. It's an amazing deal today. But there's just something about, you know, the Bernie Perrant era. I always say I'm from Philadelphia. You know, it was a different thing back then. And you know, again, we don't give those guys enough credit for the equipment they had, or the lack of equipment that they had, or the fact that they're using leather pads that get wet and get heavy.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, and what was the deal? One of the goalies today said that the pads are twice as big and weigh half as much, and then they wick the water off. I mean, I don't think any position in sports has evolved as much as goaltending over the last 30 years.
It really has. The equipment has changed amazing. People who know me though, my only gripe is a little bit some of the modern the padding, the goalie leg pads. I have a little trouble adjusting to because I'm so used to an old school style pad. So I skate more with a more traditional goalie pad than, you know, but I do have a pair of today's type pads, and they're nice, but I prefer a little more older style.
Right. Well, that's what you know.
And, because I play old school. I flop around and
I dive. I love it. Yeah. So, you know, what's cool about that, Jay, I got to tell our audience, Mike, I don't know. I've never told you and Christy this. So I have a friend who's a stand-up goalie, and he wears the old pads. He still does. I mean, it's kind of his thing. He's also like a Civil War buff, and he does war reenactments. So there's a lot that goes into this. But when he comes on the ice, he's got a legit pull-down face mask. It's not a goalie helmet. Old pads, leather pads. And I remember thinking to myself, man, we're going to kill this guy, right? And it's like, it's funny because there are some shots like you wouldn't think, like sometimes if you make a big move and shoot on the ice, it can be easy to score. But I know that from watching hockey in that era. But this guy, and I told my team, we played him last weekend. I said, don't sleep on him. I said, do not think that because he's a stand-up goalie, you're just going to be able to go by him. And I turned to the guys, I said, he will amaze you with the save this game. I said, I just know this guy. And the guy's like, I can't reenact it, but they come out, he's kicking, he's paddling, you know, I mean, and he tracks the puck better than any normal goalie. I mean, you know, he's with his blocker, and the guy's like, how is he doing this? I'm like, goalies didn't suck in the 70s, guys. You know, like I don't know what to say. It was a different style. But
he's not getting beat short side, you know, up top. I tell you that, I guarantee it.
Well, my thing is, I mean, the goalies are absolutely phenomenal, but they all drop in the butterfly for every shot. And, you know, if you're 6'5", I say stand up because you're going to cover more net.
Right. You know, the funny thing about that style of goaltending, before we get to the end of the show, is just, you know, it's like you said, he doesn't drop at all. So what ends up happening is that, you know, guys will come in, they'll make 4 dekes and this really great move, and they'll do all this stuff and they'll shoot, and he's just there. And the thing is, it shows you that, you know, how some things have not translated. And again, the way you beat someone like that, no offense, Jay, is, you know, you got to move. You have to move, and you got to get the puck low and, you know, make sure they're not there, or obviously get a 2-on-1. But the thing is, you know, the rebound control on stand-up goalies is insane. Like, you're not getting a good rebound off these guys.
No.
You know, the puck's going to the far boards and stuff like that. Anyway, that's a little nostalgia. You know, the last question I wanted to ask is, you know, when you sent me some stuff, I think one of the misconceptions of artists is that, okay, you just do small saves. And as you alluded to here, that's not true. You said you're writing a novel. You've sent me other artwork that looks nothing like small saves. You've sent me a portrait. So, you know, what other projects do you have coming? Can we get a sneak peek into that?
Sure.
Can we talk about that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm always doing freelance on the side. Someone say, can you draw my son playing goalie, or you know, as or forward, or whatnot, or my pet, whatever, you know, it's absolutely. But I'm working with a fellow writer. Her name's KP Lynn out of Chicago, and she writes the storybooks, Hockey Puck and Hockey Stick, and we're collaborating with a comic strip called Mixed Crayons, and that came about when I worked for the city of Boston in the community center. We had children from all nationalities, backgrounds, abilities, disabilities, and I kept my notebook with me. And I said, "There's something here." And so now we're doing a comic strip. You know, children, you know, all backgrounds, and we're putting it together. We made like a story that we're going to make into a little book of it, and then show it around. show it around to different like syndicates and publishers, and maybe some will find it interesting. So that's something I'm really enjoying doing right now. And but of course, small saves. I make sure he's drawn every week.
You're doing a great job. Like, again, for those of you listening, smallsaves.com. I would say to all of our listeners, especially the parents, this is a great comic strip. It's a great little gift. It's great, something you can share with your kids that it makes the game fun, right? And you get to explain to them why the goalie is thinking the way they are. Dare I say it's a good thing for goalies to probably be reading. If you have a little goalie at home, this is the comic strip for you.
Thank you.
Before I close it out, Christy and Mike, I want to see if you had any last thoughts. Or Jay, you as
Jay,
well.
Yeah, Jay, thank you so much for, sharing small saves with the world.
Thank you.
He is so fun, and it just lightens up the mood. Every time I read your little comic strip, it just kind of makes you realize not to take everything so seriously in life too, just to have some fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I enjoyed your article, by the way. It was great about wearing the C and how the kids had a chance to wear the C, to see what it was like to be the captain. Love the story, and I love the artwork that goes with it. It's great artist. It's really wonderful.
Thank you, Jay.
Christy is a very good writer.
Oh yeah.
And Jay, I gotta tell you, I appreciate you uncovering that Mike has also had a background in writing, because we're totally gonna lean on that now on every episode.
Awesome.
Mike, what else are you holding out?
Yeah.
Other than the fact that I played goalie growing up, other than that, that's why I switched to. I used to love playing goalie in one game, and then I'd be a forward and an X, and it was like those good old days of the old Cooper pads. You feel like, oh my God, I'm as light as a feather out here right now. It's amazing what that that feeling is when you had that heavy, cotton equipment that you had to wear.
Here.
But no, I would definitely recommend. I mean, just as much as you need the puck hog at the bedside of your 6 and 7 year olds, you definitely need a good comic strip to go along with it. And I think the small save stuff is great. For connecting with your kids and having an opportunity anytime they read about hockey is always a good way to end the evening.
Totally agree. Well, I think that's going to do it for the episode, Jay. Again, thank you so much for being here. You've been a great guest.
Thank you for inviting me. I had a blast. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
And for Sedona, Jay, Christy, Mike, and myself.
Yes.
Another great episode of Our Kids Play Hockey. You can check this episode and more at ourkidsplayhockey.com. And once again, you can listen to the episodes wherever podcasts can be heard. Or if you want to watch it, which this is an episode I suggest you watch because of everything that happened, you can check that out on Facebook, YouTube, or again, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Once again, really fun episode. We're enjoying all these interviews. Thank you for listening or watching and being part of our little community here. We'll see you next time on Our Kids Play Hockey. Have a great day, everybody.